I set off from Torside car park, probably a bit late in the day for this time of year. Okay, the game plan for today's wander is to go down the Longdendale Trail and then strike up the Pennine Way to the top of Bleaklow Head. You can just see the Pennine Way up on the hillside in front of us, at the edge of Torside, and then carry on along the Bleaklow, beyond Bleaklow Head, along to Bleaklow Stones and along that ridge, and then drop down somewhere just before the Woodhead tunnels and back down the Longdendale Way. It's a plan much subject to adaptation. I've not been out for quite a long while, largely down to a damaged knee ligament, so it's to some extent I'm just testing out what my knee's capable of. So maybe quite a short walk, but we'll see how it goes. Well, one of the reasons I came out today was because the Mountain Weather Information Service had it down as a crystal clear day. So far it's looking a bit murky. I mean, the cloud is off the top of the hills, but it's not looking that clear. It's just above the top of the hills, and it's a bit hazy. But there's time for it to clear up. I've put my sunglasses in. May need them later. The Longdendale Valley, it's probably not the prettiest valley in the Peak District, it has to be said. Most of it's sort of industrial reservoirs, and then one of the main roads over from Manchester to Sheffield runs through it, and at one point there was a railway line and there's power lines and stuff, but there's some good walking from the valley, both on the Black Hill side and up on Bleaklow. Well, the sun's beating down now, so I think I might change my jacket because I'm a bit warm climbing up here. You soon get away from the noise in the valley, and pretty quickly it starts to be nice countryside. The Pennine Way actually runs along the top of the ridge here. Looking back there, it's you can see you might be able to see, I'm not sure on this camera, the mast at Home Moss, the television transmitter, which is kind of between here and Holmfirth, and then the Crowden Valley kind of leading up towards Black Hill, which, as I said before, feels quite remote, as long as you forget that there's a road running over by Home Moss, and you're never actually very far away from it. The section along Torside is quite precipitous by Peak District standards, but it quickly takes you up onto the Bleaklow Plateau. This is the spot where I missed the turn when I was doing the Pennine Way in 1978 and ended up way down the Longdendale Valley, but my navigation's got better since then. That's Manchester over there in the distance, if you can see it on this camera. Starting to get up onto the top of Bleaklow now. You can hear the grouse about. There's quite a lot of grouse around here. I suppose it's been a very mild winter so far. Quite often around here you can see mountain hares as well, which stand out pretty spectacularly in their white winter coats when it's like this. But I'll see if we can see any later. And once you're up on the top of the plateau, there's a few little stone markers kind of marking the Pennine Way, but it's not an easy place to find your way around if the weather is unpleasant. I guess there's a lot of people who start the Pennine Way and do Kinder and Bleaklow, and I think that's enough. But on the other hand, if you do get over Kinder and Bleaklow and the weather's bad, you're probably going to make it all the way to the end, barring overuse injuries and blisters. So swings and roundabouts, and I guess to some extent it weeds out people who shouldn't really be doing it. But it's a hard start to the Pennine Way anyway. It doesn't get that much easier, but there are easier bits. Oh, we seem to have arrived at Bleaklow Head quicker than I was expecting. Thought it was a bit further on. That's the actual top of Bleaklow, which is that big untidy cairn with the pole sticking out at the top of it. So I think we'll stop here for a spot lunch. Mind you, I probably should have stopped further down when I was out of the wind, but anyway, can't be helped. I'll see if I can find somewhere a bit sheltered up here. Maybe have a wander down to the Wainstones, see if there's some shelter there. Well, this is Bleaklow Head, which is, I think, the highest point on Bleaklow. I have to say, it doesn't look it. There's a couple of hags around here that look a bit higher, to be honest, but who am I to say? So looking over to the north there, you can still see Home Moss. I think when it's clear you can see Home Moss from just about everywhere. And Manchester's a bit hidden now behind behind the plateau over there. But probably if you wandered over there it'd still be visible. Now it's a bit, wind's a bit cutting, so I think I'll go and find myself somewhere to get some shelter and get some lunch. Near the Bleaklow Head cairn, I spotted a couple of snow buntings on a rock. I'm more used to seeing those in the car park at Cairngorm Mountain in the winter, or up on the summit of Ben Nevis in the summer. I managed to get a couple of photographs with my stills camera, which has got a better zoom on it. Occasionally see snow buntings in the Lake District, but I haven't seen them in the Peak District before. I can't say that I know this bit of Bleaklow at all well. I'm kind of heading east from Bleaklow Head towards Bleaklow Stones. The path here is fairly thin. It's not the usual, it's not the Pennine Way motorway. Yeah, that must be the Derwent edges over there. I'm sure that's is it Backtor or something like that it's called. There were a few hares about, but I only managed to get this one shot as they were fairly quickly moving about. You can see how conspicuous they are in sort of typical Peak District conditions. I think they were actually introduced into the Peak District by the shooting estates. They're not actually native to this part of the country. It looks like there's some really interesting, some quite good camping spots up around here. I think when it gets a bit warmer I might give myself a bit of a backpacking trip, heading over maybe from the Derwent Valley over to Glossop over a couple of days. Enjoyed my lunch, but my fingers are absolutely freezing now. Probably need to stop and put my gloves on really, or alternatively walk a bit faster and stop messing about. There's a line of these stakes all the way Seems to be all the way along the route that I want to follow. I lost it for a minute there, but found it again. So I'm looking for the next stake now. Yeah, it looks my next stake is just on top of that peat hag over there, so not too far apart. It looks like somebody's been taking a mountain bike down here as well. I suppose it's rideable, but not strictly legal up here. Well, I guess these must be the Bleaklow stones, which are marked on the map. Some fairly interesting shapes here. Quite fancied camping up here at some point. I think you get some good sunrise and sunsets when it's clear. I might give that a go later on in the year, or even if we get a bit of settled weather. It doesn't matter if it's cold, it's just if it's misty or damp. Just getting a little bit of colour in the sky over to the west. Probably should check what time it is and get a move on down to the valley. It's not too bad once I get down to the Longdendale Trail. Doesn't matter what the light's like. I do have a couple of head torches with me, but I don't really want to be going down on this terrain with a head torch if I can help it. So I'll probably need to stop messing about and get a move on. Bit of a panorama of the eastern side of Bleaklow, and looking around towards Kinder Scout. The sun is setting a bit, so I probably do need to think about getting off here. And these are Bleaklow stones, and this, I think the general direction I want to be going in is towards Home Moss Aerial, but I'll probably get the map out and just take a bearing. I think there's a grouse shooting track somewhere down here further down, so it would make sense to pick that up because I could probably move a bit more quickly. So I'll have a look at the map and take a bearing to that. I think I look a bit like Nanook of the North, but actually I forgot to put a hat in, so I'm having to wear me hood to keep the wind off my ears because it is getting to be a little bit parky up here. My hands were really freezing when I'd had lunch, but I couldn't be bothered taking my rucksack off to get my gloves, and they've warmed up now with moving. So maybe I need to keep moving just to stop them getting cold again. To the north there was a nice golden hour light as the sun was getting low. As I was heading down to the Woodhead Pass, the sun well and truly dipped below the horizon and it started to get properly dark. I managed to pick up a track that goes up to some grouse butts that leads down to a more substantial track. You could see the cars coming across the Woodhead Pass. I think there must have been some traffic lights or something because they kept coming across in sort of convoys, which looked quite surreal. Anyway, continued on down and picked up the Longdendale Trail, which was an easy 5 kilometres back to the car.